Gosh. All right. All right. All right. All right. Well, happy Sunday, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world today. Hope you had a wonderful, amazing Sunday and you are ready and prepared for the week to go out here and be amazing. It's time for Wealth Talk. And as promised, every evening at 6 p.m. And I'm just going to start because as you can hear, the grands are here. So the joys of working from home, right? I gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, we're talking about economics, building sustainable families, um, income versus wealth, and how we can turn our income into wealth, the different ways, and some of the effects of that it has on families, right? Because we want to build sustainable families. I shared with you all how during the time that I was earning my degree, that I took a course that required me to make a family genealogy tree to basically state like where you're from, where your nationality, what different health issues are in the family, different things that in the family that can impact the family genetically, as well as socially and economically impact on the family. So we know that over the past year, the US economy has bounced back rapidly, but there has also been numerous challenges. And the challenges are in the areas with the supply chain distributions, a surge in inflation, and a difficult policymaking environment. So it basically means that growth is slow and there's lower inflation. And due to the rapid growth, it's new monetary policies are being implemented as we speak from the Federal Reserve. Bonds and defensive stocks and emerging markets are expected to go up. They're expecting that interest rates are on the rise from 2023 until 2024 and on. They're stating that the interest rate percent is about 4.1% right now. And is expected, no, 4.1%, I'm sorry, 4.1%. It was in 2022. Now it is at 2.6% for 2023, and they're looking at it to be somewhere around 2.3% in 2024. So there's definitely a recession going on. There's definitely some changes that we need to anticipate and or prepare ourselves for that is going on and taking place right now. And how does that impact families? Like I said, when I did the genealogy, my children were at risk for certain risk factors. It was mental health, incarceration, substance abuse, and I think those were my three categories for my family at the time of raising my family. So I'm just going to share a little information with you because families and children can find themselves as at risk when they experience violence, unemployment, drug abuse, single parenthood. Oh yeah, single parenthood was one of mine too. Teen pregnancy or mental illness. Juvenile delinquency risk factors associated with family according to age of children and adolescents. Some of the risk factors are parental substance abuse, parental criminality, mistreatment during childhood and family violence, ineffective parenting behavior, the community, the environment, poverty can add to the probability of abuse and neglect. Added conditions, other risk factors are depression, substance abuse, social isolation, the higher increases the higher chances of maltreatment. And these things the factors that go into play when we are looking at this is biological, because we talked about the geneograms, right? We talked about our DNA and what's in the family tree. Chemicals, that's the substance abuse. Physical, psychosocial, and how that affects each individual person, right? Some of the protective factors are the foundation of strengthening families' approach, parental resilience, social connections, concrete support in times of need, knowledge of parenting and child development. Hold on, excuse me. Is Don Creature here? Here, talk to her. Sorry, my apologies. We're talking Louie. She's gonna let you talk. She's gonna excuse me for one moment. Yeah, she wanted to know if you have an iPhone charger. But I'm gonna give the phone. Hold on, I'm gonna put it on speakerphone. Here, because I'm doing my live and y'all are acting a fool. Okay, so sorry. My apologies. Thank you for bearing with me. I know it's live. It's 100% live all the way, right? We were talking about, we were talking about, you guys are really. Stop, Louie.
That's Louie.
Stop it.
Mama,
Please stop.
Mama, this is what I'm talking about.
I know we're gonna have a serious talk after this because you guys are not listening to me at all, and I don't appreciate it. Not at all, but we'll converse about that later. Welcome to my world, ladies and gentlemen. So we were talking about the protective factors, and the foundation of strengthening families' approach. So it's like the parental resilience, social connections, concrete support in terms of the need, right? Not knowledge of parenting and child development, social and emotional competence of children. Now, these things, they go through them, they categorize them as primary, secondary, and territorial. I may be pronouncing that wrong. I'm not, just wanted to bring this information to you. Thank you very much. And then for primary, we're looking at preventing efforts directed towards the general public, the general population, to prevent maltreatment before it occurs. And that's the universe. That's all of us share in a responsibility in identifying families that are at risk and are having trouble. And it's up to us to decide, which side are we going to be on? Are we going to be on the support side and try to help them? Or are we going to be on the other side and harm them? We want to help them, right? We want to help them become stronger. We want to help them where they are weak so that they can become stronger. The secondary is targeted towards the individuals or families, which maltreatment is more likely. And then it's heavy. Okay. And then the third one, territory, is towards families in which maltreatment already occurred. So with all our efforts, the Family First Prevention Services Act in 2018 emphasizes the importance of primary prevention services, right? And we talked about adverse childhood experiences. And adverse childhood experiences can have a tremendous impact on future violence, victimization, and perpetration, and lifelong health and opportunity, along with adverse.
But I talked to her and she said she don't have another one, okay?
Okay, so you don't need to talk to her again. Okay, cool. Louis, I need you to chill out. Can you chill out for my mom?
Yeah.
Are you gonna sit there and chill out?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Can my mom finish now? Thank you. Go find your space.
What?
Everybody find their space.
That's lame.
Go find your space.
Okay.
Go find your space too. All right, now, underneath adverse childhood experiences and how it can impact on our future violence, victimization, and preparation, life and long health and opportunity. Talk about how it's related to incarcerated, having an incarcerated relative, a mother treated violently, mental illness, physical neglect, emotional neglect, and emotional abuse. They list sexual and physical abuse as a non-accidental harm. And I have to look a little bit more into toxic stress physiology, so I won't be explaining that, but the adverse childhood experiences, they have a rating anywhere from 1 to 3 and 4 and higher. And if you your score, if you test and your score is, you are doing way too
The
much.
most.
If your score is on the 4 or higher, ACEs are common across the population. Almost 2/3 of study participants respond at least once. And ACE, and more than once, and 5 reported 3 or more ACEs. Some populations are more vulnerable to experiencing it because of social and economic conditions in which they live, learn, work, and play. And they also shed some light on ecological prevention, which is children and families exist as part of an ecological system as individual, relationships, community, and society. And ecological health, there's 4 principles to consider. There's the multiple levels of factors of influence of health on the behavior. So someone that may have experienced some of those things, mental health, abuse, trauma, parents, abuse, witness that. And then on top, they have that trauma inside of them, but then they have, say, health issues to go along with that. It kind of increases the behaviors. Influences, but please feel free to go and look this information up because it is on the Department of the Children and Families website about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. So you can verify this information, ladies and gentlemen, because I know I'm probably jacking it up right now to bring it to you to share with you how it impacts us in our and economically as well as socially. Influences interact across levels, because we talked about how the list of risk factors as well as health factors, they could kind of cross over each other. And then there's multi-level interventions are most effective in changing behaviors, which means that it takes a team, probably several teams, to provide resources and support for the family. Major contributors to, and this is major contributors to the national debt. due to high cost healthcare, inducing spending with ongoing systematic challenges in the industry is not improving the overall life expectancy of the US population. Not adequately coordinating care for patients with complex conditions, including people with disabilities, contributing to health disparities.
Upstairs. The door was upstairs, Louis.
Oh yeah, navigating systems. And this is how, when we talk about navigating through the systems towards wellness. Excuse me. Excuse me. What did I ask you guys to do? Get your foot off that door. Right. Get up, get off the door. On the count of three. I'm gonna count to three, and I want you to go find your spaces.
I don't know where my space is.
How about this? On the count of three, go up to your room and go play with your toys, because I got about maybe a few 45 more minutes, maybe 30.
Oh,
Both of you are going. 1, 2,
come on.
3. See you later. I'll see you in a few minutes.
I'm not going upstairs. I want
Well, then you better find a spot. Just sat right there. Anyway, we'll have this discussion afterwards. I know you're feeling some kind of way because I'm busy right now, and I'm not sitting directly right there where you are. But I should be able to be right here and you be over there, sitting calmly while I finish this. It shouldn't take all of this. But since it is, I'm going to ask you guys to have a sit down. And I will unmute the TV and turn it down a little bit, because so I won't have it in the back. Now sit down and watch the TV. Thank you. Such is life. You gotta love it, right? So we're talking about navigating through systems towards wellness. And it's not always easy. And I believe I share that in my story as I talk about being a single mom, raising, 2 children, and dealing with some of those risk factors. Father not in the home due to incarceration. There was substance abuse in the family. There's mental health issues that was brought out. So all these things. So can you imagine me as a young mom in school, and I'm learning all this stuff, and I'm going home and I'm taking it all in, and I'm looking and I'm assessing not only my family, I'm assessing my community. I'm seeing where I am financially. Like, my whole way of thinking was like, how can I make my life better? I know that this was the hand that I was dealt, but how can I take this hand and make it better? Going to school and continuing my education was one way of making it better. Being more in tune and giving more time to my children made it better, because it opened communication. And a lot of times I feared that I was parentifying them because of the nature of the fact that they were forced to be so independent. Because I worked and I went to school, so that put responsibility on them to be responsible young people, to follow the house rules, to go home, do their chores, prepare their meals, until I was able to get home and do all this and remain safe and not have other children in my home, for safety factors, because I was not there. The fact of having an absent parent and having to explain why the parent isn't there. And although there was minimal communication because of the fact that due to the early age of his absence. I don't think it was anyone's fault. I just think that because he did not have the opportunity to really take the initiative to parent due to his own personal choices and behaviors that got him where he was. And me being responsible for the children, that's more pressure on me to do the right thing and be there for them, because they already have one parent outside of the home. You don't need two outside of the home, and then where would they be? But thank God we had the family support, and family support is very, very important when you're raising children and trying to build a better life, trying to do the best that you can to create income that provides a home for them, food, shelter, and that's just the basics. We didn't even get to the wants and the needs and desires. We are basically talking about just the simple basic needs of caring for yourself as an individual, and should you create a family, these are some of the things that you need to look at and planning for your family. Okay, no, that didn't apply to what we were talking about tonight. Sorry. Also, during the journey of child rearing ages, I talked about me being homeless with the children, and there's 4 types of homeless. They categorize homelessness as one, an immediate risk of homelessness, meaning that you need housing right here, right now, if you have no other housing. Homelessness under other federal structures. So I guess that's like living pillow to post, like moving around, not really oh no, that's not pillow to post. Homelessness under other federal structures. So I guess that's homelessness if you're incarcerated or living in a shelter or something like that. Fleeing and attempting to flee domestic violence, at-risk homelessness. And you would have to required documentation for, I guess, for all homelessness situations, if you are to go and provide services, if you're not an individual who is living with others temporarily without a permanent home. Like I just said, living pillow to post, and I was one that lived pillow to post with my children. Thank God it was when they were young and they really don't remember too much of it. They remember some of it, but not too much of it. And those were factors. So I'm a young mom, fresh out of high school, couldn't go to college until they were of college age. So therefore I'm receiving TANF. So that's the income portion. As I'm going, as they were growing, sorry. As we are growing, as they were growing, and they became a little bit more able to, they were a little bit more independent, potty trained, ready to go to school. And because I was a stay-at-home mom, it was my responsibility to make sure that they were ready for daycare when they went. And once they were able to get into daycare, I was able to get myself together and go to school. And that's pretty much when my life kind of opened up, and the narrow pathway that I was looking at, being a young mom, being divorced, well, not divorced quite yet at that time, but separated, and raising these 2 children, having a responsibility, knowing you need an income, you don't have a home to live in. It requires it puts a lot of pressure and stress on you. And with the adverse childhood experience information, basically what they say, but I'm trying to remember from the webinar. Now, as an infant, your brain is wired. Everything is connecting It's no gaps, no anything. As you begin to grow older, and we talked about those risk factors that we talked about, they impact the wiring, the wiring in the brain, where it was all once all connected and everything was all together. Now there's breakages inside some of the connections. So everything is not all coming together, and it can get worse as you get older. So that's what we're looking at, because we talk about mindset all the time, but we don't really think about how our environment, how our economic situation, and our personal life experiences impact our minds, the tolls that it take on it. So you could have started out a happy, well-adjusted child, and due to your life experience as you were growing, things happen and cause some breaks in the wire, and could make it a little bit more challenging for you to see the hope, the light of what light and joy this life we live really has for us and what it offers. And no one should be ever mistreated. No one has the right to take advantage of anyone, child, man, woman, and an adult. You have the right to live free, and you're in control of your body, and no one should treat you wrong. Your mom's on her way.
Mom?
Yes. She texted me. Those traumatic experiences can impact your life in such a way that you sometimes may want to give up hope. It looks like you're never going to win. And if anyone's ever been in that spot, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it wasn't until the children got into daycare where life began to start to expand for me, because it gave me free time from the children and gave me time to begin working on my dreams. And I'm a single mom that dedicated my life to my children. And you will hear a lot of people say that, when you have children, that you should have your children and do your children, but also have a life for yourself. That was not my train of thought raising my children. My children were the foremost important thing in my life. One, two, being a single parent, there was really nobody to share the parental responsibility. And three, being an overprotective parent, not trusting anyone outside of the family circle. And since my mom and dad did not elect to babysit, guess who was the babysitter? So I had to figure out how I was going to do everything within the time frame that I had. So when they went to school and started beginning their journey on child socialization, early child development, learning how to develop words and setting structures and learning their numbers and all that stuff, I was in school learning about the development of humans and why the impact, why we do what we do. The major was human services and addictions counseling, because of the fact that that was the prevalent thing that was in my family, and I wanted to bring my family back full fold, because it's important to have both parents, but it also is important for each party of the family to own up to their responsibility and do their part to ensure we got our goal, our common goal needed to be the same. But you'll hear people say that, mothers need to develop their own life, and I'm sure that's true. However, my walk wasn't that walk. My walk was to take care of these kids and do what I needed to do, because eventually they were going to grow up and get bigger, and they did. And each phase of life, as they grew, the communication opened up. Questions came. They wanted to know, how could someone be a parent and never look for, ask for, think of or want to talk to their child, which I think impact their life in a way that when they began going out on their own, they started to develop ideas of what kind of life they wanted to live, what type of parents they were going to be. And it's very interesting to me that a lot of, more than most, I'm going to say the majority of our children that grow up with just one parent turn out to be pretty great parents. They show up for their children. They are really involved and actively involved and want to be a part. So that was a plus of going through that journey, because what was a negative turned into a positive. The issue still remains of the economic growth for the family, the well-being for the family, and how healthy is the family, right? So as time goes on, children become adolescents, and my problem child was my male child. Not so much that he was a problem in the sense of problems. He was one that was very curious. He believed in defending the other underdog. So if he saw somebody getting picked on, he usually come in and pick on a person that was picking on a person that was, he would pick on a person that was picking on a person. So it was a lot of interaction with the schools and trying to learn exactly what was going on. And that part of my journey led me into their education. And that's how I ended up being an actively involved mother, sitting in classrooms, because I needed to understand. I worked the night shift and they went to school in the daytime. So I had to sacrifice some sleep and rest to sit in the classroom to identify where were the areas where were the gaps? Why was he constantly getting into things over time? And I saw that it was a difference. Not every child is going to listen to the teacher. Not every child is going to follow the rules. Some children, they have issues, and when they come to school, those issues come out. So the teacher is not only the teacher, she's the social worker, she's probably a nurse, she's somebody's counselor. God bless those that are in the educational field, because you guys, at the time that I was in there, from what my experience is, they need more money for the job that they do. I'm sorry. they need more money. I just don't get it. But anyway, it was very challenging. But as a parent, I got to sit in and observe, and I got to notice which teachers had classroom management that actually had an impact and could impact the children, gain the children's attention, to get them to listen to whatever they were teaching that day. And some teachers had struggled with classroom management. I observed some children with their heads, they come in the classroom, their heads down for most of the class, so they didn't get the lesson. So seeing all these different things, and then meeting some of the parents, from getting involved with the Parents, Teachers, Student Association, it gave me a little bit more understanding of how parents struggle working. If you have more than one child, and if the kids are kind of spaced out, now you're not going to one school, you're running to 2 or 3 schools, and you're still expected to go to work, take care of the kids, still live the happy-go-lucky life, right? But somehow you still end up with more month than money. And we do our best. I met pretty amazing parents along the way. Some of them I still are friends with today. We made it through the trenches. We raised the kids, got them grown, thank you, Jesus, and they turn out to be productive citizens of society. And that's a plus. So kudos to moms and dads that, we did the damn thing. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't without challenges. And when I like to call it, it's called the manhood stage of our young men. And for African American males, majority, I don't want to say majority of us, because the fathers are around now, but for whatever reason they don't want to participate. Some fathers do. some fathers do participate, and then they catch all heck for it too. If the relationship seems to not work out, if mom and dad can't be together, then one of them causes havoc in the other one's life. That also incurs economic stress, because now you're running back and forth to court. You're trying to get some child support, which and God knows what else goes on, restraining orders, all kind of stuff. Like, it just gets crazy after a while. Like, I've never seen nothing like it. And it's hard for me to understand and kind of grasp it because I didn't go through it. And it's hard for me to try to show empathy, because I'm thinking to myself, you got these children, so how do you have time to harass each other and cause all this havoc and keep running to the courthouse? That's taking away from time from work if you're working. If you're not working, that's just taking time from you trying to find something to do. But all these things are challenges, and then you get fines. Then you got I don't know what comes along with restraining orders, but I'm sure there's just probably probation and things of that nature that add up. So if you're already in a negative, starting out, you're a young parent, you got these children, you're trying to build a life, you're trying to get out on your own, but then when you get out on your own, you get together and you don't know how to share responsibility. You don't know how to share the responsibility of parenting, let alone sharing the house responsibilities. Then it leads to all other things that add on additional strain of court costs, probation costs, whatever all that is. And if you take him to child support, so now you took the guy to work, he's working, but now he's paying for his children, he's taking care of his kids, but then he's issued child support. And I was glad to see that now that they offer the parenting time between parents, I think that is so much more better, because now you both get to share in the time of the parents, parenting and the caring for the children, which eliminates child support in some cases, not all. In some cases, it eliminates the child support. But if the parents can't get along, then you still got the fines of probation and other madness that goes on. That's totally against the program. To grow a healthy family and to grow economically. Excuse me, guys, can you lower your voice, please? Thank you. You can't build if you're digging a ditch. If you're already in a hole and you're digging the hole deeper, how it's going to take you even longer to get up. So starting out as a young parent, I didn't have credit. I just had a job, and the job that I had really wasn't enough to pay for housing, a vehicle, and still allow me the liberties of taking care of basic needs, groceries, clothes, shoes for the family, all causing hardships. And just imagine if you're going through these things, and then you're suffering from health issues, mental health issues, or you had something very traumatic happen to you. Sheesh. Or you've had something very traumatic happen to you over the years of your parenting. How do you begin to start building from there? Because you're already in a negative, right? So we got to look at our individual self. How, starting out as a young mom, I was pretty blessed to live at home with parents that didn't mind taking care of me. But as children do, you want to be grown. You want to be on your own. So how was I going to be grown and on my own? I knew I needed a job. And I got the job. But if you get the job and you don't save the money towards your dream, or you don't start putting your money in places where your money can grow for you, or save it somewhere where you can pile the money up, because it costs. You got to pay your security deposit for your first month's rent. What is it? First month's rent and the security deposit. That's including the security deposit. You got homeowners or renters insurance to protect your things if you're renting. And if you are renting, you are still kind of homeless, because the moment that you don't pay the rent, or if the landlord decides during your term there, even if you are a good tenant paying your rent, but say they decide they want to sell the home, if they decide to sell the home and the new homeowners don't want tenants, then where are you? Looking for a home again. So I encourage those that are starting out, it's probably wise to look at investing in some sort of home ownership, property investment, something like that, so that you can kind of leverage your income, and be better standing, because this way, you own the home, right? You own it, whichever way you go. And I share information with you guys. Julian Gordon is a gentleman that I follow. You can follow him. He provides very good information when it comes to property value. You have Grant Cordone, who is also into property management. Well, not property management, but he's into buying properties. So if real estate might be something you might want to look into. It's also a nice way to create some income, from what I understand and from what I've seen over the years of people that have invested in income. That's another way to create income for your family. If you're growing out, you want to think before you don't jump out of the frying pan into the fire. Because once you get out there, you're out there, and there's no coming back. Because when you leave home has rules, and they're going to have the same rules when you return. And if you have trouble following those rules when you're there, if you think being outside on the other side is better, you better darn well be prepared to be out there, because I thought being outside the home was going to be better, and it was a struggle. It was a challenge. But through that challenge, I grew. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my children. I learned that over time, hardships can come in many ways. And when you have adolescent children, they are already in a curious exploration phase. They are testing every boundary, and they are not afraid to take risks. And some of those risks they take, they don't realize how it impacts the family when they refuse to, hey, when they refuse to abide by rules, which causes a whole lot of other things. It may involve juvenile justice. It may involve juvenile courts. It may involve even juvenile placements. All of which, guess who pays for that? Dear old mom and dad. You guys think you guys are being smart, taking the wheel into your own hands, but what you're really doing is creating even more hardship. And I know every child has a rites of passage that they go through, and that rites of passage could be very, very traumatic. It could be harmful. It could be a growth experience as well. But it definitely is a financial hardship on the family, for sure, because you're paying attorney, you're paying child support for a kid that's got to be housed somewhere because they're not listening to your rules, they're not listening to nobody else's rules, and we can't have them tearing up society, right? We can't have them tearing up the community. So we try to put them someplace where we can help them to learn the importance of self-control, make the importance of the decisions that they make and how their decisions impact them. And sometimes if you're providing the resources and the help to the young people that's going through challenges, we sometimes fail to look at, because we're focusing on the kids, we fail to look at the family structure. And sometimes us as adults, as parents, some of us, we need help too. We need some help with self-control. We need some help with our processing and decision making. We need to be able to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and calm our own self down. Please stop knocking on my door. Get off of that door. Move away from the door. And if you have a child that is mimicking the parent, how do you treat the bull? Right? And then how are we going to service them? Who's paying for that service? Even if there is an insurance, there's a copay. Can the parent afford the copay? If you're running from poorhouse and you're running here and running there, you're missing time from work. You're not at work, so you're not earning all your full pay. You are dishing money out that you need. And if you don't have a strong family support system, your family could end up in transition of homelessness and a whole lot of other things that come down the pipe when you're not financially prepared for these things or don't have some type of financial cushion to help you navigate through. So that's why when we talk about wealth talk, I'm going to get you to, I'm going to get you. If it's not today, but the next time I see you, we're going to have a nice long talk. Just know that. We really, really are. What was I saying? With wealth talk, that's the importance of wealth talk, not just to tell you about credit, not just to tell you how you can create a savings, but we really want you to be financially savvy because we don't have a crystal ball. There's no crystal balls that says that when we have these children or how they're going to come out, what decisions they're going to make. And a lot of them go through their rites of passage and come out fine. It's just something that they have to go through to discover themselves, to figure themselves out, to know that they are great, that they do have greatness in them, and that they do have capabilities to create their own wealth and build something for their own life and legacy. Excuse me, their own life and legacy. But sometimes it's a journey getting there, and it can wear you out as a parent. I know I can testify. I used to dream beating that boy with a baseball bat at night sometimes. It was just a dream just from the stress. Just from the stress when they don't obey the rules, when they don't follow your curfews and things because they want to be with their peers and they want to do what they want to do, but they don't see the importance of your rules and the structure and why you are telling them to do the things that they do. You know, and females too. They have the same issues. It's not just males, but we have to start another way. We have to begin at home with ensuring that our families are receiving what they need. And it starts with us as parents. We've got to make sure that we got everything that we need, that our minds are in the right frame of mind, that we know who we are, that we've done some self-discovery, we've done some self-awareness, and we can figure out what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are and be able to communicate that with our children. As an adult, sometimes you have to go back and you have to admit to your child that you might have been wrong, or maybe you lashed out at them inappropriately because of the fact of the stress that you carry. You're paying, you got to go to work, pay the bills, and raise these kids. Then they got stuff going on. It's a lot. It can be a lot. And then if you add caring of your parents on top of that, anybody feel me, or am I just talking to myself? Do you feel me? Then you're navigating through these systems, health systems, the court systems, the juvenile justice system, or family court system, whatever system it may be, you're going to go through it. You know, it's sort of like when you're trying to go for your driver's license. Everybody thinks that the driver's license is like something that is a right, like something that you supposed to have. No, your driver's license is a privilege. And guess what? Being a parent is a privilege as well, but it's a privilege with a lot of responsibility to it. And before you step out and do it, You want to plan right. And what I would tell my children was, if you can take care of yourself, if you can provide for you, and you're doing pretty good. And I don't mean providing for you for like maybe 6 months to a year. I'm talking about providing for you for like maybe 5 years or more. Then maybe you can add somebody else on too. You might be able to help somebody else out, but you better hope and pray that that person got a little something too going on. Great job. Great job. Please don't use my gate part. I need that. The thing is finding someone that's equal. You hear, let's get together. People talking about relationships 50-50. That always puzzled my mind, because how do two half people come together and make a whole? You're still missing a whole half of one another. So there's no way two halves could ever make a whole. You have to make sure that you're 100% whole, know who you are, know what it is that you want out of life, have an idea of where you stand financially in your life. And check and see, are you a spender or are you a saver? And the person you connect yourself with, are they a spender? Are they a saver? What's their temperament? How do they handle hard times? Are they how do I say it? How do they handle hard times? Are they one that goes from 0 to 100 real quick? No explanation, kind of hard to explain to. Understand when everything is all about them and it has to be their way? Or are they open to, dialogue and compromising and looking at ways to problem solve so that you can move and work together? These are all things that you want to look at before you begin starting out and having a family. And these are some of the issues. These are some of the areas that you want to pay attention to. You want to look at the individual. How do they conduct themselves in every arena, at work, at home? How do they interact with their family and treat their loved ones? And is it the same as yours, or is it different? What type of goals do they have in their lives? Or do they have tight-knit families? Or is it some issues in the family? Where the community that they live in, where do they come from? Do they come from the inner city? Do they live in the suburbs? Are they, more rural, more rural area? Because all that plays a factor. And then society itself, we all play a part too in this, as we're being out there. And I love that part, because that was the favorite part, because my kids always tell me, Mom, leave them kids alone. They not your kids. But when I sit on my porch in the summer, the bad kids don't come down the block, because I'm that mom that be like, excuse me, come here. I've taken BB guns and had them wait for their parents to pull up and come and get it. They needed an adult, because I wasn't giving it back because they were using it carelessly in a residential zone. If they're picking on each other or whatever, I get in it. If I need to call law enforcement, I will. You know what I mean? Because I'm a part of my community, and as an adult, that's my responsibility. Whether you like it or not, that's my responsibility. I want a nice, safe community, and the only way I could have it was by taking some reins. And my most interesting days were the days when I would stay home from work, because that's when I really get to see the Lord, and I got to see all the truancy and all that. So it pays to pay attention to your surroundings. We have to look at our biological makeup. We have to pay attention to what it is that we're putting into our bodies. Every good time isn't always a good time, and find another way to relax, because if what you get into it's easy to get into it, but it's hard to get out, and it could be a long journey. Try to keep yourself as safe as possible. Know the warning signs, pay attention, don't allow anyone to physically harm you in no way. And if you should find yourself that way, reach out for help. Psychosocial, that's your mind and how you see the world that you live in, how you view yourself in the world that you live in. Are you a winner or are you a loser? And your personal. got to know how to take care of you. And I encourage you, before you attach yourself to anybody, know your worth, know what your capabilities are, know what your gifts are, know where you stand. And if you are blessed to come from a family that kind of sets you up financially, going out the door, appreciate that and respect it, and look at your utilization of those credit cards that you may be an authorized user on. Don't just spend first. It's not for you to take your friends and go wild out. It's for necessary purposes, and make sure you make those payments on time, as well as the other things you're gonna need as far as living on your own. This was very challenging this evening, and I appreciate your working with me and sticking with me through everything. And I'm so glad that it's in several places, because this Zoom is gonna be I tell you, technology, life, sometimes it just is what it is. Becoming more financially knowledgeable is going to benefit you. From this, how we started out with the stats, inflation is rising. We are seeing how the supply chain distribution is affecting our neighborhoods, grocery stores, and impacting our families and our communities. We can see the surge of inflation, how things are going up, but yet our income is not going up. And we're starting to feel that. And pay attention. I know politics is an area I really don't like to get into, but you have to at least keep your ear open and pay attention, because what policies and laws are being put in place eventually are going to impact us all. And if we're already in a zone where we're struggling, what is going to happen if we don't position ourselves in a way that as things get harder, we're navigating a path that is bringing us different streams of income? Because today you cannot rely on just one income. And you guys know it. Some of you are working 2-3 jobs already. You want to work smarter, not harder. You want to become a little bit more savvy in your finances. You want to pay attention to your credit rating, because that's important. That's going to determine, it could be the difference between you getting the job that you want or taking the job because it's going to help you pay what you got to pay. There is a difference. Pay attention to these things. And if you have never had your credit report or even looked at it, you need to know what's on there. Because as much as we talk about sustainable families, and I love my family over everything is what we say, is really what we say is what we do. It's really what we do. But we know how family can be sometimes. Times get hard, somebody use your name, put something in your name. Then when you go think you ready to go do something, you can't go do it because you got all this stuff on here that you have no idea about, but guess who's left to clean it up before you even get out the gate to get started. So it's important to pay attention to these things. I'm not going to get into the whole family using names and stuff like that, whether it's right or wrong. We all know it's wrong, because you should own up to your own stuff. But should someone do that, and that's also considered identity theft, right? So I'm going to deal with you two in a few minutes. I don't even want to hear it. Anyhow, wherever you may be today in your life, just know that you do not have to stay there. You have the capabilities and the skills to begin the change in your life today. All you need is a plan, some organization and order, and what you already have. And you can begin your journey towards becoming better, towards mastering the art of investing in yourself, and growing, learning, and healing, because we all do it. No one's exempt from life on life terms. We're all going to experience something. We all go through storms, but I'm here to tell you, whatever storm you go through, there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel. The storm isn't going to last always. And if you develop your relationship with God, the creator, the one above that created you and me, well, you and me, look, I did it wrong. You and me. He never fails. And I can testify to that. He has not failed me yet. Through all the things that I've gone through, he has had my back, covered my family. Even in our darkest days, God still has brought sunshine. And I hope the same for you. And if you're interested in learning more about financial literacy, I invite you to join us for Wealth Talk Recession Proof. We will be meeting tomorrow. I think tomorrow. I know that there's a training at 9:00. I know that. Hot VP University. So that's a very good training. But if you're interested, reach out to me. Let me know. I'll definitely make sure that you get in the room to hear the information, because only you know what you need for your life. You know where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing us to come and disrupt your evening this Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Not out of the way.
Merry New Year's.
Merry New Year's is Happy New Year. Yes. And have a blessed week, ladies and gentlemen. Go out there and be your best. Thank you all for joining us today. Don't move. Don't get this out your mouth. All right. All right, Facebook. Thank you so much. Oh, Miss Beverly, thank you for watching and joining. Your presence is the presence. And I hope you had a wonderful, blessed Sunday and have a wonderful week. See you guys later. All right, now I have to go here and say goodbye to YouTube. Goodbye, YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us.